our starting point was BMW, of course, and BMW's strategy of EVs and stuff like this. And they are really focused on hybrids and on giving the customer the choice. I get the point. They don't want to take risks, but now is the time to take risks. And I think, like we said, for the narrative, for the press release, for the image of BMW, this makes a lot of sense to announce this collaboration with Figure here, with this great bot that they already started here. And of course, this will have an impact because now they are not the hybrids company that just wants to focus on hybrids. Now they are the company that are in robotics as well, or even consider that and being more innovative than we might thought. And I think the bot looks pretty good right now. And now maybe we can come into the segment where we maybe compare the two, because we have this bot. So we also see that it has the mechanical capabilities of doing this kind of task that it's doing, making coffee. And we have, of course, this kind of task. This is with a teleoperator, but still TeslaBot already learned some processes already. We've heard about that, but we haven't seen really the big proof, of course. I mean, we need to still see that. We have had those model where the TeslaBot, how it sees their surroundings, how it's tagging the can where it waters the plant, for example. There was also a video. Yeah, now we have these two bots here kind of competing with an automotive company behind somehow. Yeah, so how do you view that? How is the hardware or the software? Do you think they are nearly on the right track or the same track? And what's the advantage over the one and another?
The Gen 2 is a far more mature hardware design from what the Figure one is. Mm-hmm. And, everyone keeps on assuming that, it's going to be the Figure 8 is going to be the version that they release, just because it's a little bit of an inside joke. So there's obviously advantages to going through different design iterations. So it's a much more mature one, and you can see it's far more fluid. And when people pointed that out, Brett Adcock kind of shot back and says, yes, but one of them was teleoperated, the other one was end-to-end. Well, we've seen end-to-end already with the Gen 1 robot back in September with the blocks moving around. So that was an example where they had also done the same kind of learning. They can do end-to-end. And now they've got a new generation, and they're having to sort of reteach it. They've got a new stack and everything else that's going on in there. It won't be long before we actually see it doing end-to-end. So I would say it's not like one of them is way ahead of something else. I think Tesla has the advantage right now on the mechanics. It's much better. I like the wrist design a lot more. Mm-hmm. It does seem to be a lot more fluid. And I believe that they're going to be on par with the AI. The other major advantage that Tesla's going to have is when it comes time to scale these, they're going to be able to scale them up pretty quickly. So Brett Adcock has said that all the actuators they have, they had to design them themselves, and they're making them themselves. So they have an internal shop where they can go ahead and produce those things. Well, they have to produce, I'm not sure what the total number of degrees of freedom is. It's probably also in the order of 40 or 42 like there is for the Gen 2 robot. That's a lot of actuators that you would have to build by hand just to build one bot. And so it's not like they're going to be able to scale up and crank these out and suddenly deliver by the end of the year 100 or 1,000 bots to BMW. That's kind of a big ask right now. Mm-hmm. Tesla is very close, and it is a good chance they already have a pilot line set up for their actuators, because they've redesigned the actuators from what the original design was. So these are the ones that are lighter and tighter and ready to go. So they will be able to crank them out at a pretty high volume pretty soon, when they are really happy with the design, which I think they are very close. And again, that's something that Milan posted, that, the hardware demonstration, it's able to do something with the dexterity that we want. You do not need to fold t-shirts on the shop floor. So you could say in some ways this is way beyond the task that's needed. Just like we've kind of joked before that you do not need to do parkour in most of your job descriptions. Backflips, cartwheels. Dusseldorf is just across the Rhine from me, and that's the home of the cartwheel. That's the actual symbol of the city of Düsseldorf is a cartwheel. So you don't need to do cartwheels in most jobs, okay? So in a lot of jobs, you do not require quite the dexterity that you need for being able to fold a piece of laundry, or dealing with something that has that kind of flexibility in there. So there's many tasks on the shop floor that require a much lower level of capability than what we're seeing right there. And of course, they're not just looking at being able to do the lowest level capability things. They want to be able to do a lot more in the automation. So they're probably very happy with that at that point. So The Atlas bot is quite interesting as far as some of the capabilities of what it has. We don't need to do backflips or anything like that.
Yeah.
And in many
Mhm.
cases on the job site, you'll get fired immediately for pulling a trick like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're not
Don't,
here.
please,
Um,
not
yes.
near the other robots, please.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, the walking speed and stuff like that, you do not need to sprint. No one's allowed to sprint in factories or anything like that, except if there's like a tornado drill or something like that. Even then, they say walk out orderly. But for the most part, the capabilities of the bots will be well within what is required for these tasks.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter of them deciding that the bots are ready, that they're satisfied with the software stack. They've got the training sets that are going on. And we can see from the Tesla job descriptions that they are hiring a lot of
Mhm.
people now that are for activities that seem like deploying the Tesla bot in the factory to do different operations, not
Mhm.
just the training of them, but also like overseeing them, as well as looking at the production of the Tesla bot, ramping up on that. So there's lots and lots of those jobs that are suddenly showing up, and I'm sure will be filled pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy how to see actually those proofs everywhere, to see that they are gonna go and deploy those things. And it's interesting to compare the robotics companies to another, because I think then we can get the picture, the whole picture. Because for many people, it's also in the comments. I mean, the Tesla bot video was about the Tesla bot, not about the Boston Dynamics robot. But we've seen time and time again the big comparison, because of course, like we saw now, the backflip turning thing, or the
I think it's a 1 with a half twist,
80,
something like that. It's
yeah,
not a
what the
not it's not a
80
1 and a half.
something.
Yeah,
It's-
it's
yeah,
basically
yeah, but
you're doing a full flip, so you're doing a full roll
with a
with a
twist.
half twist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's quite impressive. That just shows how great the hardware is, the programmed
Hmm.
hardware. But still, I mean, even if it has collision avoidance or something like this, those technologies are not so spectacular in comparison to a learning algorithm or AI brain that actually sees the world and tags the world itself, because that's the main difference here. And I think that's very important. But since everybody in the audience and everybody wrote in the comments as well, especially on the Tesla bot video, I want to show now all the bots that are out there, like the biggest ones that were announced in 2024, or also like before in the last year. And maybe we can just talk over them a little bit and see what we have here, because I think that's very interesting here. Kind of compilation here of all the bots. So yeah, we have Boston Dynamics, of
Right. So there's
course.
Boston Dynamics. Yep. And I think
Sanctuary
that's
AI is
Sanctuary.
this.
Yes. And they've been around
Exactly.
since 2016,
Mhm.
and that's about their 6th generation bot. It seems like
Mhm.
they've got full degrees of freedom in the fingers. I
Mhm.
know their earlier generations did not walk yet. And
Mhm.
so I'm not sure if they've got their bot walking now, but I know
Yeah.
they were working on that, and they seem to have full degrees of freedom in the torso, so they have a lot of movement in the spine.
So yeah, maybe we're gonna go through that. That was just the intro, but of
Hmm.
course here's
Hmm.
the Boston Dynamics robot. So maybe you can point out the difference. I talked about that a little bit. It is on pre-configured paths where the whole team is looking how to move,
Hmm.
how to jump. These are coordinated. Yeah, those are choreographed things we are
Scenes,
seeing right
yes.
now. And this thing didn't have the idea to jump, but it's still impressive because all the sensor, of course, need to figure out where they are in the space in reality and actually land on the feet. But of course, we still don't see how many attempts it had, how much it fell over, and
Right.
stuff like this. But still very impressive from the hardware standpoint. And also, of course, from the software standpoint, but it's not the same than the Tesla bot, for example. Yeah, but
Right. Now,
maybe you
what you got to
can
remember
explain
is
more.
1 hour runtime. It's using hydraulics, and with
Mhm.
hydraulics, you can get a lot of power, which is why it's able to
Pop.
really
Yeah.
jump like that to give the pop. The other thing is this bot is only 4'11",
Aha.
yet weighs
Mhm.
about 200 pounds. Okay.
Mhm.
The Tesla bot is like 5'9". So it's about 10 inches taller and weighs about 125 to 130 pounds, something like that. So there's a lot of mass in there, but the mass is kind of concentrated down low because, normally gymnasts are a lot shorter than your average population. So
That's
you're
true.
able to get away with this by having a smaller bot. Yet that bot is now below the 50th percentile that you would want to have for a humanoid bot that's going to be working in the factory. So so that's the reason why everyone's sizing their bots around 5'8" or 5'9", because that's sort of around where the 50th percentile would be, and that's sort of the normal size you're going to want to have to be able to reach and do a lot of these different operations. It's designed very differently to do very different kinds of tasks. And again, with a runtime of an hour, that's just not going to last the factory. You need to have something that's at least 5 to 8 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, maybe, do you think this thing is easily mass produced? That's also the next part. Because Tesla has mass production in mind. So yeah,
right. It wasn't designed that way, and now they're trying to redesign it to make it easier to mass produce. Even then, I think they said these are close to $250,000, $250,000 a pop. So that's they get a long ways to be able to kind of cut that price down.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay.
And
so
no hands. No real hands.
Yeah. Of course, those balls, and here I think it has. I don't know what it is, or if they are already there. Wait a second. Yeah. I mean, there's like grips, like two grips version, and it also had a ball version. But yeah. So Boston Dynamics is kind of not debunked, but still for the audience, Boston Dynamics on a different path. Let's just say that they're good. Like, it's a good R&D project. It's a good thing, and they should keep going, of course, and still develop, because they're developing a very specialized, very good, capable hydraulic robot, like Scott said. So no hate here, actually. Of course, it's awesome what they're doing, and all the robotics companies do great stuff. But yeah, Tesla makes the brain. That's the difference. That's so interesting. And also, Figure seems to also implement AI more, and that's also very interesting to see. But now maybe let's go to the next bot here that we have. This one is the Sanctuary AI bot. So maybe you can explain a little bit what's happening here.
They're based up in Vancouver. And again, I believe a lot of this is teleoperation, where they're able to sort of demonstrate the mechanical capabilities of the bot, and they also are working on different AI systems. And I believe they recently had a cooperation with NVIDIA, came up with Isaac. An API called Isaac, and I believe Sanctuary is one of the many partners they have. So again, they are all looking at who to partner with to be able to come up with the toolkits they need to start training these bots. And they started really with the hand dexterity. So they realize there's the triangle of mobility, brains, and the hands, and the dexterity. So they've been focusing more on those two areas. They have a lot of teleoperation, and they're just starting to work on a bot that's able to walk. So mobility will be the next. But again, there's many tasks like this. If you're just working at a workstation, you don't necessarily need to walk, right? So there will be a lot of these applications where the torso can just be kind of mounted and can rotate around, and you may not have to move. And then there will be others where you would like to have mobility.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting, I think, about also these robots, what I've wanted to cover here as well is with OpenAI. It was an interview actually with, I think it was with Bill Gates together on his show. He also has a podcast. It was interesting because they were talking about that now we have more and more robot platforms actually where you can implement, like you've said, implement those smart software AI brains and put them in, or those large language models and put them into the bots to give them the commands as well, and train them actually and give them like a brain. It's interesting because Sam Altman also was stating that he was starting with the software at first because it was the lower hanging fruit for him to start it this way, but hardware was always in mind as well. So yeah, that's pretty interesting to see that